Okay, I saved you the pain of watching me paint the white base coat. And what I use for my white, I've been using it for years, I love it, is by Golden. It's a titanium white, but it's the high flow. And the high flow is what you need for your airbrush. They have different thicknesses, and the high flow is made for your airbrush. So after the white, our next color is also from Golden, and it's high flow, and it's a Titan buff, but it makes an excellent bone color. So you can call this bone. If you don't have Titan buff, make a bone, or you may have your own bone color that you like. But again, the colors I'm giving you, it don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be exact ones I'm using. Just do something similar or experiment with other colors that kind of complement each other. So I'm using an Iwata Eclipse HPCS. I've been using this for about 9 years. This is my second one. Very reliable and versatile. I love it. So let's start with the Titan buff. Just spray it all over. Now normally I have a fan running. You can probably see the fan here, but then it gets kind of noisy and I want you to be able to hear me. So let's get that Titan buff on there. Get good coverage. And then I use my handy dandy hair dryer to heat set everything. Okay, I switch camera angles because I realize since I'm right-handed, every time I start painting, the camera's in the way. Alright, so we have the titanium buff base color, and now we start building up our colors. I always like to start with a light color, you know, like the titanium buff, which is the bone color, and kind of work my way up. The next color we're going to use is by Wicked. It's moss green. I've had this for years. Great color. If you don't have it, I suggest you get it. And what I like doing is I have been practicing or testing out different colors on different bases. So my moss green may look different over a white base, or it may look a little different on the buff colored, or say if you're going over a pearl gold or pearl silver. So experiment with that because you're going to get different effects. So I got this moss green, and instead of just spraying a straight even color of green, let's vary the color. We're not going to go all the way to the belly, but let's do different intensities of this green, maybe a little lighter here, a little darker here, and just make it all random, right? Because nothing's perfect in nature. So let's start painting a little bit. Just start out light, because if you go too dark, you can't undo that. So just kind of go all crazy, a little lighter, a little darker here, make happy circles. Okay, Bob Ross reference. But get it all over here. Dark, light, just zigzag all over. See how it's a little blotchy? That's good, because we're going to fill that in with the next color. Again, nothing is going to be perfect, so dark, light, dark, light. I got to wipe the tip off of my brush. Sometimes you get tip dry there on your brush. Just wipe that off. I saw somebody else using a wet sponge, and that's a great idea too. Alright, let's go on the back side. I start kind of light, and then I increase intensities of the green in different areas. Even on don't forget the back and the shoulders. If the fish had arms, this is where the shoulders would be. Alright, the end of the shot where I was painting the green, it said the battery died on the camera, but I think you get the gist of it. So we're not going to reshoot that. So you could see the different intensities or tones of that moss green, which is what we want. Now the next color is by FW Ink. It's called Red Earth, but I'll tell you what, if you go get some of this red oxide by Comart, it's the same thing. And the old name was Indian Red, so if you have an old bottle, that's what it was called, but they changed the name to Red Oxide. Same thing. So Red Earth, and we're going to do the same thing, the different intensities, and fill in some of these lighter spots again. So let's do that. Turn my pressure down a little bit. All right, and this is where it all kind of comes together here. Just a little bit here and there, and feel free to use some of this red earth or your red oxide to overlap some of the darker tones that you painted earlier. So kind of on and off with your brush, varying the intensities of the brown. It looks almost camouflage color. So you can probably do a lot with this pattern without doing the cross stencils. That's actually what I did. I was just kind of winging it, doing some greens and the reds, and I thought maybe that'd be a good craw color. But you can probably put stripes on here, or maybe some crappie spots or something. But and I think you can go many directions with this color pattern. So again, just very lightly, and then darken up where you need to, varying the intensities. See that? If you see any empty spots here, maybe kind of light that you missed, go back and get it. A little more on the back. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Okay, now we're going to work on the belly, and I'm using Comart Opaque Turquoise. I like Comart paints. I've been using them for 9+ years because they are airbrush ready. I rarely have to reduce these. Shake it up real good. And you know, I've never really done a turquoise belly on other baits before, but I've been told by more experienced fishermen than me that that's a good color on the belly, so why not? And it kind of brightens up a dark bait. When you have dark colors like this, you need something to give it some contrast and to brighten it up a little bit. So let's just go very light on the belly. Turn your bait upside down. Go real light, start in the middle. This way some of that overspray will come up the sides and would be a nice gradual blend of the color. So there's no hard edges. Let the brush do the work for you. There we go. See, it comes up a little bit. I like that. Alright, so we'll heat set this with my hairdryer, and then we'll get on to the Craw shell stuff. So actually, before we get to the Craw pattern stencil stuff, I forgot there's one thing. I have FW Ink Antelope Brown, and I'm just going to spray that on the back a little bit. If you don't have Antelope Brown, you can use Sepia. It's basically the same thing. So we'll just go very lightly over the back. Just kind of fold everything together a little bit. You don't have to do a lot. I like to do a little bit on the nose. There we go. Again, if you don't have Antelope Brown, use your Sepia. That's okay, do it. You know, again, the colors don't have to be exact, right? I'm just kind of giving you some technique ideas, and you can, you know, customize your colors the way you want. And this just happens to be what I do. So you do what is good for you. And again, these are just steps and techniques that may help you with your own signature baits. So now we're going to do the craw shell pattern like you see here. I made vacuum formed stencils like this. I cut one of the lure blanks in half. Let me show you. And I put it on a bed in vacuum form, so that's half the bait. And I have another video in my video library on YouTube that shows you how I vacuum form these. But there is no one perfect way to create your craw shells. I do vacuum form, but the only negative side of this is it's lure body specific. Some people use painter's tape and they cut the pattern there, and the good thing about that is it's universal. I think you can use it on a multitude of baits. Or my friend Russ Allen from Insane Custom Stencils has these different wheels. Here's one here. And you can put the wheel over the bait and you paint just on the outside of the bait. So that's like the positive edge, and mine are more of a negative edge. But on his wheels here, see, he also has some other craw designs in here, and he has a multitude of craw designs. And that's at insanecustomstencils.com. You can also find them on Facebook. But I like these too. But for today, we're going to use my stencils here that I cut out. I vacuum formed them, and then I drew the craw pattern I like, and I use a Dremel and cut them out. And you sand them a little bit. If you don't sand, you're going to get some rough edges on the inside here and scratch your bait, and that is not good. Alright, so I got some black in the brush. I don't have a lot of air pressure in there in the brush right now. Probably 10, 12 psi. Now I'm going to lay this right over the bait, and it fits nice and snug. And what I'm going to do is spray, not actually on the bait, I'm going to spray more on the stencil and let some of that overspray get on the bait. So if you can see how I do that. Very lightly, here it goes. A little more on the top. There's your shell. Now I have the next section, which is the nose section, or the forward section. And when you make these stencils, you have to kind of tweak them so everything lines up. You don't just cut out the craw shell and think everything's going to line up. I always do test paint jobs just to see how everything lines up. Again, spray more on the stencil and let that overspray get on the bait. Oops. There's the other one. I also have one now for the back end, for the tail section. Again, make sure it lines up. And let's get spraying. Maybe a little bit of the bottom here and then up where it joins the other shell section. Oops, come on. And there we go. Now, one thing I'm going to add here. When I made these stencils, they were just 3 sections, and I thought, that's a lot of empty space. So I added, if you see on the finished one, another shell section. And that's easy. All I got to do is take that stencil again, and I just move it up a little bit. Just a little, right there. And spray another shell. There you go. See? It's not rocket surgery. There we go. I'm going to do the other side of the bait, and you probably don't need to watch me do that because I already did this side, but it's exactly the same. I have stencils that are exactly the opposite. of what we just painted. Okay, so the other side is done. And that's what the whole bait looks like right now. I'll probably just hit the spine a little bit with some black, just a little. I like to do it right where the shell sections join. And then on the face. Just a little. You don't need a lot of paint, right? A little goes a long way. Again, just adding a little bit of realism. Is that going to be the make or break of catching fish? No. But it may catch some of your friends' eyes. They may want one of these. Alright, we are done with the stencils and we're closing in on the end of this paint job. Again, we haven't done very much and it looks very natural and realistic. But remember I said because it's so dark, I like a little contrast, so we're going to add some white spots on the bait, just like that. Okay, we're going to add the spots now, and I have a series of these stencils I got from Anarchy Models in the UK. Brian Best is the guy that makes these, and even if you're ordering from the UK, surprisingly, they get over here kind of fast. I think mine at the time took 2.5 weeks. So, and they're great. He just go to his website, anarchymodels.co.uk, something like that. But I'll put it if that was wrong, I will put the correct link for these stencils in the description. But I use a lot of his stencils, especially for crappies, great crappie patterns, and these are like creature feature spots, and they're excellent. And it really upped my painting game, which I needed desperately. Alright, so we're going to do some spots. And I trimmed some of the stencil. There was a border here, and I just needed to trim it so I can get closer to the bait. So I'm going to do some spots along the face here, and then each bottom of the shell section with some white. If you don't want something as bright as white, maybe go with a lighter gray or something similar to that. Or, you know, maybe even some orange. Right? It's dark bait, and orange would complement it pretty good. I may have to try that now that I think about it on another bait. Alright, there's some white there. Let's go on the shell section. Just the bottom, so I kind of do a little U motion. There. If you want, maybe just do some random spots. It doesn't have to be just in one area. Again, this is your lure, your paint job. Make it yours. Again, this is why I like using light colors on dark baits. It makes everything pop. Flip this around. All right, let's do the other side. You know, the gill area is always the toughest to get to because that bill is in the way. But a bit of white. Then let's do the main shell section. A little white there. Have it. Yay. That is the Craw. All done. I like using black eyes. And then I use Alumilite UV for my clear coats. I've used 2 parts epoxies, and I've used KBS. That's good. KBS is really good, but you need to store it really well. If you're not going to use it all the time, I don't recommend KBS. If you're a regular user of it and you go through it pretty quick, yes, it's a great product. But Alumilite, I just store it in a jar in a box where it's dark, and then I built a UV box so I could cure the bait, and they're basically cured and ready to go in about 45 minutes. But here's the finished product. right there. That's what it looks like. Love it. I like natural colors, but I also need to start painting something with bright colors for stained waters. In Minnesota, where I live, I don't get a lot of requests for craw because I don't know if there's a lot of craws up here. There's no shad. That's why I don't get a lot of shad requests either up here. So, anyways, thank you for joining me on this video. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. I don't do as many videos as I should, but I'm trying to. Work and family stuff comes first. So, but I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know if you have any questions. And in the description, I will put links to a lot of the products I used, paints and the airbrush and the compressor and things like that. Once again, thank you for watching.